Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daniel and my company name is Energy Performance Solutions. Okay, so yeah, the purpose of this video is to give you some clarification on how EPC assessments in general, how to achieve EPC rating C. Okay, and to talk about a couple of misconceptions that are out there, just to give you information that will be very useful for landlords that have properties. And now with the new regulation coming up in 2030, landlords, scratching their heads, trying to understand, what it take to achieve EPC rating C. Okay, so let's start with clarifying a few misconceptions. Okay, so what tends to happen, okay, is that landlords, when they look at the EPC certificate, let's say for example they had the property assessed, let's say 10 years ago, and now it's just expired, and they look at the recommendations there on the report, and it would say, okay, if you do X, Y, and Z, wall insulation, change the windows, you would get EPC rating C. Okay, so this is actually a common mistake that I totally understand, because there's not a lot of information out there. So just give you an idea, if your EPC assessment was done, let's say 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, the recommendations that you see there, if you do them now, 10 years on, you might not get the same rating that is says there on the recommendations. So this is because as the years go by, the government tends to make the criteria more strict. Okay, for example, a boiler that was considered good 10 years ago, it might be go down to average. Windows that were considered good 10 years ago now will be go down to average. So when you look at the report and the recommendations in it, those recommendations tend to be valid for that year or maybe next year. It's not, they're not be accurate if you're trying to do those recommendations a few years on. There's no guarantee that you're going to get that same rating that it says there. So yeah, that's something that's a common theme in with a lot of my customers. So we that's why we're creating this channel here, just to give landlords clarification on a few things regarding the EPC assessments, because there's not a lot of information out there, and the only guys that can give you information is us, the assessors. If you're an experienced assessor, you would know how things work, and you'll be able to inform inform landlords. Okay, so another common misconception is that people tend to compare their EPC certificate with the neighbor's EPC certificate, and they would say, if the neighbor gets a C rating, and let's say you don't get C rating, you get D rating, you'd be asking, so why my neighbor got a C rating and I've changed the boiler and I've did that to the property and I did not get it? Yes, because each property is assessed individually. Okay, there's no it's not a situation that, okay, if we do this thing here, if we change the light bulbs, we'll go from D to C because my neighbor got it, so it should be the same with my property. No, the two different properties, there'll be different boilers in there, different models. Each particular boiler has a specific rating there. Okay, and also it could be that there's different elements are different level of insulation, the position of the property, and now the detachment of the property. All those things are taken into account. So comparing yourself to another property is definitely not the way to go. Okay, so now when it comes to the recommendations on the standard EPC certificate, all right, these are quite limited. All right, so we have to take that into account. So what you tend to see there is the government focus, because the recommendations are automatic, by the software. So we put the information in, we visit the property, gather the information. As we put the information into the software will automatically rate the property and automatically give recommendations. Okay, so these recommendations, they tend to be, bit costly. They tend to focus on wall insulation, floor insulation, double glazing, solar panels. These are the ones that the government tends to focus on. So, but they don't cover the whole range, right? This is the thing, they don't cover the full range of recommendations, because there'll be other things that you can get points, all right, that will not be mentioned there on your actual report. For example, when it comes to heating controls, maybe adding, smart ERVs, creating zone controls in the property, that will give you 2-3 points there. Maybe there's a fireplace that is open there and there's a draft coming through, that also in fact impacts the EPC rating. All right, so these kinds of recommendations, they will not be mentioned on the report itself. Okay, so and how to get around this, right? How to navigate these assessments in a way that the landlord can know for certain what is going to get, so that can understand the improvements and have a feasible selection of the recommendations that the landlord can do to achieve C rating. So you can achieve this by arranging an EPC consultation with an assessor. Okay, so this would entail probably two visits to the property. So one to assess the property. All right, then in our case, so we assess the property, and then we assess the whole range of recommendations possible for that property. Okay, so we tend to start with the cost-effective improvements first, things like heating controls, top-up loft insulation, and we leave the more expensive ones for last. And you get different combinations of recommendations. All right, so after we produce this report, okay, you know exactly what the rating would be for each combination of recommendations. All right, this goes far beyond the what the standard EPC certificate can offer. All right, so I'm giving an example. So there was a customer of mine that had a Victorian house, and according to the recommendations on the EPC certificate, he needed to insulate the walls, insulate the floor, and that would get to the C rating. Okay, so we assessed the property, and we actually provided a different range of recommendations that got to the C rating. All right, so in this particular case, the landlord only needed to change the heating controls, okay, and top up the loft insulation, right? So with these two small changes, the rating got up to that threshold, the C rating threshold required. All right, so if you look at compare the cost between changing heating controls and top up the loft insulation compared to insulates solid brick walls in a Victorian house, and the floor insulation is quite costly to do these kinds of works on the walls. So it was definitely an effective way to deliver the C rating. Okay, these are the kind of things that we do. All right, we also focus on if you're building, if you have a project and you're renovating your property. In these cases, we can also help you make decisions there. We can help in things like, okay, is it floor insulation that it will be effective here, or is it solar panels? And as you're renovating the property, so you don't make mistakes. All right, because what often happens, even on renovations, landlords tend to do quite a lot of things right, and they do one or two things wrong that would make the rating lower than it could be. Okay, because we had several situations where there's substantial works that were done to a property. The landlord is expecting a B rating, and then that's not the case. All right, so to avoid this, you need an EPC consultation. All right. In my opinion, this should be the standard at the moment for EPC assessments. You should also, especially if you're not C rating, if you're D rating, E rating, and you want to know how to improve, definitely an EPC consultation service is the way to go, because this way you can visit the property, give you all these recommendations, all right, beyond what the standard EPC certificate can offer. Based on that, you know, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to achieve this rating. All right. So then we'll just wait on you to do the works. Once the works are done, we'll visit the property to assess everything again, and we issue the final certificate. That's the way forward to achieve the C rating. And it's not what people say, oh, from D to C, you change this particular thing on the property, the light bulbs or the windows. No, each property is different. So don't fall for these common misconceptions. But yeah, the good news that there's help out there, and also I'm one of the assessors that is qualified in delivering this consultation service and help many landlords along the way. I'll leave here the example that I just mentioned. The landlord just mentioned. I'll leave the example here. You can see what the EPC rating was before the consultation and after the consultation. Okay. So yeah, I hope to see you guys again in the future. I'll be posting more videos about the EPC rating and help understand these common misconceptions and how to move forward with making your property more efficient. Okay, so see you guys next one. Thank you.